The wedding march is already playing when Ella Carter swings one leg over her parents' backyard wall. Below her, Margaret Carter is in full meltdown mode. Ella, get down right now. Ella clings to the stone cap, veil snagging on a rose branch. Her heart slams so hard she tastes metal. Mom, I am not marrying a stranger for your business friends. Richard Carter appears behind Margaret, face pale with rage he refuses to name. Do not embarrass us. Embarrass you. Ella repeats. Her voice shakes. I am the one being sold. Margaret points at the open doors where the guests wait. If you jump, do not come back. Ella swallows, eyes burning. She looks at the perfect lawn, the perfect house, the perfect trap. Then she forces a breath. Then I jump, she says. She drops. Her heels skid. Her butt hits grass. Pain flashes. She scrambles up anyway, grabs her skirt, and runs like she stole her own life. She sprints past the caterer van, past aunties with cameras, past a groomsman who shouts. The bride is escaping. Good. Ella yells back, and keeps running. She hops a hedge, ducks between parked cars, and slides into a rideshare like a criminal in satin. The driver glances at her in the mirror. Bachelorette party went wild, huh? Something like that. Ella pants. Drive. Please. Anywhere in the city. No. Wait. Central Park area. Big. Crowded. Got it. He says, and the car shoots forward. Her phone vibrates with call after call. She watches the screen fill with mom, dad, unknown, and the name Davis family office. Ella turns it off. Half an hour later, she collapses on a park bench, bridal satin streaked with dirt, makeup smeared, lungs on fire. She stares at the passing joggers and dog walkers like they belong to a different universe. Okay, she whispers. Now what? A man sits on the far end of the bench. He wears a suit like armor, tie loosened, jaw tight, eyes colder than the wind. He looks like he walked out of a board meeting and into a war. Ella glances at him, then laughs once, rough and tired. You look like you are hiding too. He turns, surprise flickering when he sees her wedding dress. I am not hiding. Sure, Ella says. Then why are you sitting here like the world just sued you? His mouth twitches, almost a smile. Almost. My family wants me married. For business. Ella sits up. No way. He says. She points at herself. Same. Mine wanted a show wedding. I ran. He studies her, calm and sharp. You climbed a wall in that. I did. Ella says. I fell on my butt too. It was tragic. Silence stretches. The city sounds fill it. A skateboard clacks. A siren wails far away. Finally he asks. Your name? Ella Carter. He nods once. Jesse Hunt. What do you do? Ella asks, because a stranger's job suddenly feels like proof they are real. Architecture. Jesse says. Design. My family wants me tied to a developer's daughter to lock contracts. Ella snorts. So we are both being traded like coupons. His eyes flash with something that might be disgust. Yes. Ella's chest tightens. She thinks of Margaret's threats, Richard's silence, and a stranger beside her with the same cage. A reckless idea explodes in her head. Marry me. She blurts. Jesse stares. Excuse me. Not like romance. Ella says fast. Like a contract. We get a marriage license, our families back off, we live together so it looks real, we stay out of each other's lives, and later we divorce. Clean. Jesse watches her like he is measuring load and risk. Terms. Ella blinks. You are considering it. I do not do anything without terms. He says. Ella leans forward, breath quick. No interference with work. Split costs. No scandals. No strangers in the apartment. We tell our families we fell in love fast. We do not post online. And we do not fall in love for real. Jesse's eyes narrow. You added that last part. It seems important. Ella says, cheeks hot. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out a small notebook, and flips to a blank page. The man carries stationery. Of course he does. Jesse writes with clean strokes. House rules. Quiet hours. Cleaning schedule. Ella groans. We are making a contract inside a contract. It prevents disasters. He says without looking up. I am not a disaster. Ella argues. He glances at her dress, her grass stains, her ripped hem. You are a charming disaster. Ella makes a face. Rude. Continue. They sit shoulder to shoulder, drafting like co-conspirators. When Jesse writes no cooking without supervision, Ella slaps his arm. You do not know my skills. She protests. I am predicting them. He says. Fine. Ella says, then points at his list. Add this. No judging my messy art corner. He hesitates. Define corner. Not a closet. Ella says. His mouth twitches again. Fine. When they finish, Jessie tears out the page and folds it with frightening care. Where? Ella jumps up. City clerk. Now, before I chicken out. Jessie stands and straightens his jacket like a decision is a doorway. Move. At the clerk's office, they wait in a line with two teenagers, a couple in matching sneakers, and a tired man holding a bouquet. Ella whispers. This is insane. Jessie whispers back. You started it. I started freedom. Ella says. Jessie looks at her, and his voice is quiet. Then I support it. 30 minutes later, they sign papers under fluorescent lights while a clerk chews gum like she has seen worse. Outside, Ella stares at the envelope. We just did that. Jessie's voice is steady. Yes. Ella holds out her hand. Nice working with you, Mr. Hunt. He takes it, grip warm and firm. Nice working with you, Mrs. Hunt. The words should scare her. Instead, Ella feels something wild. Freedom. And a thin thread of safety that feels like it came from him. Jessie's Manhattan apartment looks like a showroom that hates joy. Ella steps inside, eyes wide. Wow. Shoes. Jessie says immediately. Ella kicks off her heels, trips on her own skirt, and flings her purse onto the white couch. Jessie's gaze snaps to it like a siren. That couch is white. It is a couch. Ella says. It wants to be hugged. She turns, bumps a glass vase, and watches it tip in slow motion. Crash. Shards everywhere. Ella freezes. I can explain. Jessie closes his eyes like he is holding back a scream. Do not. He comes back with gloves, broom, dustpan, and a tiny fire extinguisher that makes Ella blink. You have that just sitting around. Emergency everything. He says, sweeping with scary precision. Ella watches him work and mutters. You are intense. Jessie does not look up. You are a natural disaster. Fair. The first week is war. Jessie wakes at 6, runs, and cleans like he is chasing peace. Ella sleeps in, sings in the shower, and leaves socks where socks want to live. You cannot put paint brushes on the dining table. Jessie says. I am an art teacher. Ella snaps. You can paint in the studio corner. He replies, already pointing at a small desk he organized for her. Ella squints. You gave me a corner. You are a roommate. He says. Roommates get corners. Ella smirks. Right. Roommates. Not lovers. Jessie's ears go slightly red. Correct. Then comes the bathroom battle. Ella tries to shower at 7:30. Jessie knocks once and says. My schedule says 7:30 is mine. You made a bathroom schedule. Ella yells through the steam. It prevents conflict. Jessie says. It creates conflict. Ella shouts back. They compromise with sticky notes on the mirror. Ella writes, do not be weird. Jessie writes, do not flood the floor. The thermostat starts a second war. Ella turns it up. Jessie turns it down. Ella turns it up again. Jessie appears like a ghost and says. Heat makes dust. It is winter. Ella says. I am not living in a museum. You already are. Jessie says, then sighs and drapes a blanket over her shoulders like he cannot help himself. Ella looks up at him, startled. Were you just nice? It was strategic. He says. The laundry machine becomes a third battlefield. Ella throws in colors and whites together because, in her opinion, the universe is brave. Jessie opens the washer mid-cycle, stares into the swirling chaos, and slowly says. That is not how fabric works. It is how faith works. Ella argues. He pulls out a red sock like it is evidence. This will stain everything. It has never stained before. Ella says. Jessie looks at her, dead serious. That means you were lucky. Luck ends. He washes everything again, then lines up detergent pods like soldiers. Ella pokes one. Are you going to salute them? Do not touch them. Jessie says. Later, she tries to help by cleaning. Jessie walks in and finds her sweeping dust directly into the air. He freezes. Why are you attacking the dust? It is an aggressive dust. Ella says, sincere. Jessie takes the broom, sweeps properly, and hands her a microfiber cloth like he is handing her a weapon. Small circles. He instructs. Ella squints. Are you training me? Yes. He says. For survival. Then Ella decides she will cook. I am making spaghetti. She announces. No. Jessie says. Yes. Ella says. 10 minutes later, the pot boils over, foam floods the stove, and smoke curls up like a warning flag. Ella coughs. Why is it smoking? Because you put oil in a dry pan and walked away. Jessie says, already turning off the burner. I was looking for salt. Jessie points at a jar labeled salt. Ella stares. That is aggressive. I label for safety. He says. Ella waves a wooden spoon. You label for control. Jessie hands her the extinguisher. If you touch the stove again, hold this. They eat Jessie's quick stir fry instead. It is perfect. Ella chews and points her fork at him. Show off. I am keeping us alive. He says. That weekend, Ella knocks over a jar of paint water. It spills across the floor in a thin gray river, heading straight for Jessie's pristine rug. Ella yelps, drops to her knees, and slaps paper towels down like she is stopping a flood. Jessie walks in, sees the river, and inhales sharply. Ella blurts. I am handling it. Jessie grabs a towel, crouches beside her, and says through clenched teeth. You are panicking. I am preventing stains. Their shoulders bump. They clean in frantic silence. When the floor is finally safe, Jessie sits back and stares at Ella. Ella waits for the lecture. Instead, he says. You did not run. Ella blinks. Run from what? From the mess. He says, almost confused. You stayed. Ella laughs, embarrassed. It is my mess. Also, it is your rug. I would like to remain alive. Jessie's mouth twitches. Reasonable. 2 days later, Noah Cole barges in like he owns the air. Jessie Hunt is married. Noah announces, then sees Ella and beams. And he married a runaway bride. I love this. Ella blinks. Who are you? Noah. He says. Best friend, business partner, and your #1 sugar fan. Noah flops onto the couch and instantly scoots upright under Jessie's stare. Okay, your couch is terrifying. Ella laughs. Noah leans toward her. So, are you two cuddling, sharing toothpaste, whispering love poems? Ella and Jessie speak at the same time. We are not real spouses. Noah grins. That is adorable. That is what doomed couples say right before they fall in love. We are not falling in love. Jessie says, too fast. Not falling. Ella echoes, also too fast. Noah's eyes sparkle. Sure. That night, Ella watches a show on the couch, half sleepy. A mug appears beside her. Warm milk. Cinnamon. Ella looks up. You made this. Jessie stands there like he regrets having hands. You were yawning. Drink it. Ella wraps her fingers around the mug. Thank you. Jessie nods and turns away. At the hallway, he pauses without looking back. Do not cook when I am not home. Ella laughs into the steam. Deal. After he leaves, Ella stares at the tidy apartment, the sticky notes, the labeled jars. It is not her style, but it is starting to feel like a place that will not throw her back over a wall. Ella's phone does not stop ringing. When a new number calls and a cold male voice says, "This is Mr. Davis." Ella hangs up and goes pale. They are coming. She tells Jessie that night. My parents. Saturday. They want to meet my husband. Also, they want to drag me back home. Jessie sets down the dish towel like it is a decision. Fine. We play real. On Saturday, he cooks like he is building a case. Ella watches him plate food with terrifying calm. You are doing too much. Your mother will judge. Jessie says. Feed her. She talks less. The doorbell rings. Margaret Carter steps in first, eyes scanning the apartment, then Jessie. Richard follows, silent, heavy. Jessie offers his hand. Mr. and Mrs. Carter. Jessie Hunt. Margaret blinks. You are younger than I expected. 28. Jessie says politely. Old enough to know what matters. Dinner is a performance, but it feels real in the worst way. Jessie passes Ella water before she asks. He calls her. My wife. Without hesitation. He listens when Margaret says. Ella cannot handle spicy food. And replies. I made it mild. The hot sauce is on the side. Ella stares at him. He remembered. Margaret watches, unsettled. When Margaret needles Ella about running, Jessie speaks, calm and firm. Ella is not a project. She deserves to choose her life. Margaret stiffens. Excuse me. Jessie does not flinch. I respect you, but I will not let anyone bully my wife. Richard finally looks up. His eyes move from Ella to Jessie, measuring. Margaret tries again. A marriage needs stability, money, status. Jessie sets down his fork. Then we are stable. I work. Ella works. We pay our own bills. We do not owe anyone our choices. Ella's chest tightens. No one has ever said that for her. At the door as they leave, Margaret hesitates. Her voice softens by a fraction. Take care of her. I will. Jessie answers. After the door closes, Ella exhales like she has been holding her breath for years. Thank you. It was the contract. Jessie says, too flat. No. Ella whispers. That was you. Jessie turns toward the sink and starts rinsing plates that are already clean. Ella walks closer. You did not have to defend me like that. He keeps his eyes on the water. I wanted to. The words hit her harder than any shout. Later that week, a student at school pushes her too far. He tears up her classroom display and laughs when she tells him to stop. Ella holds it together until the bell rings, then her hands start shaking. She comes home, locks herself in her room, and cries into a pillow like she is 12 again. A knock. I heard you. Jessie says outside the door. Ella wipes her face fast. I am fine. The door opens slowly. Jessie steps in with a tissue box and a small first aid kit. Ella laughs through tears. Why the kit? Emergency everything. He says, then sits on the floor by the wall, leaving her space. He stays. Quiet. Steady. When her breathing slows, he finally asks. What happened? Ella whispers. I felt useless. Jessie looks up, eyes serious. You are not. You teach kids to see beauty. That matters. Ella stares at him, heart aching. You really think that? Yes. He says. Also, your student is a tiny jerk. Ella laughs again, wet and surprised. Jessie stands, awkward, then says. Tomorrow, I will pick you up after school. Ella blinks. Why? Convenience. He says, then pauses. And rain. The next afternoon, rain falls in sheets. Ella steps outside and finds Jessie holding an umbrella that covers her first. You came. She says. I said I would. He replies. They run to the car, laughing when the wind flips the umbrella. At home, Jessie makes soup. Ella sits at the counter, watching him move like a man who solves problems for a living. Jessie. She says softly. Do you ever regret marrying me? He does not stop stirring. No. Ella's throat tightens. Even with the socks. He glances at her, eyes warm for a second. Especially with the socks. Vivian Sterling walks into Jessie's studio like she owns the blueprint to his soul. She is elegant, smiling, and too close to him. Jessie. Vivian purrs. Coffee later, just you and me. Easier to talk. Ella stands beside Noah, holding a folder of student sketches she brought to show Noah's little niece. She feels heat rise under her skin anyway. Noah whispers. Client from hell. She wants him. Ella forces a bright smile and steps forward. Hi. I am Ella Hunt. Vivian's eyes flicker. Hunt. Jessie never mentioned he was married. Jessie answers smoothly. My personal life is private, but yes, Ella is my wife. Vivian smiles like a knife. How charming. For 2 weeks, Vivian creates reasons to call, to show up, to touch Jessie's arm, to laugh too loudly at his dry jokes. Ella tells herself it is fine. Then she catches Vivian staring at the ring on Jessie's finger like it is temporary. Noah notices Ella's face and mutters. If you set her hair on fire, I will provide an alibi. Thank you. Ella whispers. One night Jessie comes home late, shoulders tense. Perfume follows him in, floral and expensive. Ella smells it and her stomach twists. Nice meeting. She says too sweetly. Did your client hug you again? Jessie pauses. It was uninvited. Sure. Ella snaps. Uninvited perfume. Jessie's jaw tightens. Do not do this. Ella's emotions flood faster than her logic. Do you like it? The attention? No. Jessie says. Liar. Ella spits, and the word lands hard. Jessie goes still. His voice drops. Take that back. Ella's breath catches. Pride holds her in place. I do not need to. Jessie stares at her, then turns toward the bathroom. I am showering, because I do not want any part of her on me. The door shuts. Ella stands in the living room, shaking, furious at him, furious at herself, terrified of what she is feeling. She spends the night on the couch, staring at the ceiling, listening to the shower run too long, like he is scrubbing the argument off his skin. The next morning, Jessie leaves early. No note. No mug of milk. Ella hates how empty that feels. At lunch, she gets a message from a blocked number anyway. It is a photo of Jessie and Vivian standing too close by a coffee shop. Caption: He is not yours. Ella's hands go cold. She shows Noah after school. Noah's face turns sharp. She crossed a line. Ella whispers. Maybe I deserved it. I was awful. Noah snorts. You were jealous. Normal humans do that. Jessie is just allergic to feelings. At 5, Jessie texts. Be downstairs. Ella replies. Why? His answer comes fast. Now, she goes down. He is waiting by his car, raincoat on, hair damp like he ran. He opens the passenger door. Get in. You never open doors, Ella says. I do when it matters, Jesse replies. In the car, he hands her his phone. Read. On the screen is an email thread. Jesse writing, polite and brutal, telling Vivian their meetings are business only, her behavior is unacceptable, and if she contacts him privately again, the firm ends the contract. Ella stares. You would drop a big client. Yes, Jesse says. I do not like you feeling unsafe in your own home, and I do not like being manipulated. Ella's throat tightens. I was mean. You were emotional. He says, then adds. Do not call me a liar again. I will not. Ella whispers. I am sorry. Jesse's grip on the steering wheel loosens. I am sorry too. I should have told you about her sooner. I thought it did not matter. Ella swallows. It did. He pulls into a bakery and comes back with a small box. Strawberry cake. You like it? He says, stiff. Ella hugs the box like it is a truce. I do. Back home, cream smears on the corner of her mouth. Jesse reaches out and wipes it away with his thumb. Both of them freeze. The air turns thick, charged. Jesse pulls his hand back like it burned. Sorry. Ella's cheeks heat. It is fine. They look away at the same time, but the smiles they try to hide are worse than any confession. That night, Ella finds him scrubbing a mug that is already clean. Thank you, she says softly. For choosing me. Jesse's hands still. His voice is quiet. You are my wife. Ella whispers. Not real. Not supposed to matter. Jesse finally looks at her, eyes steady. It matters. The contract end date hits Ella like a siren. She stands in her room staring at the paper, chest tight. She should feel relief. Instead, she feels panic. Because she does not want to leave. She walks into the living room and sets the contract on the table between them. It ends today. Jesse looks at it, expression guarded. Yes. We can renew. Ella says, testing the words like they might bite. Jesse nods once. We can. Or we can end it, he does not say, but it hangs in the silence anyway. Ella forces herself to ask. What do you want? Jesse's gaze flicks away. What we agreed on. We agreed not to fall in love. Ella says, voice too sharp. Jesse goes still. Ella hates herself for saying it like a weapon. She turns away before her tears show. Fine. Great. We did great. Behind her, Jesse says. Do not make decisions tonight. She stops. Why? My birthday. He says, uncomfortable. Noah is throwing a small party. Ella blinks. She forgot. Guilt punches her. Happy birthday. She says, small. Jesse's voice softens. It is later. That afternoon, Ella walks through a jewelry store after school like she is entering enemy territory. She stares at rings, dizzy, then buys a simple silver band with a tiny stone, because it feels like Jesse. She hides it in her coat pocket and feels ridiculous. That evening, Noah arrives with snacks and chaos and yells. Happy birthday, you clean freak menace. He sees the contract on the table and immediately narrows his eyes. Contract drama? Ella whispers. It ends today. Noah stares at her like she is missing the obvious. And you are both miserable. Wow. Shocking. Guests show up, laugh, eat cake, leave fingerprints on the counter just to annoy Jesse. Jesse pretends to be mad, but he keeps glancing at Ella like he is checking she is still here. After the last guest leaves, Noah lingers by the door. He points at the contract, then at Jesse, then at Ella. Stop being idiots. Good night. He escapes before Jesse can throw him out. Silence returns. Ella stands by the window, the city lights blurring in her tears. I should go. Jesse steps closer. Where? Anywhere not here. Ella says, voice cracking. Because if I stay, I will keep hoping. Jesse's breathing changes. Hoping for what? Ella laughs once, broken. For you. Jesse freezes. Ella wipes her face, furious at herself. Forget it. It was stupid. This was supposed to be a shelter, not a heart problem. Jesse reaches for her wrist, gentle but firm. Look at me. Ella turns. Jesse's eyes are dark, steady, scared in a way she has never seen on him. When I agreed to this, I wanted an exit. Freedom. Ella's heart pounds. Then you moved in. Jesse says. You were loud, messy, brave. You broke my vase and my routine. Ella lets out a shaky laugh. And you made my home feel like a home. He continues. I do not want an exit anymore. He reaches for the paper. He rips it. Once. Twice. 3 times. Ella gasps. Jessie tosses the pieces into the trash and looks at her, voice rough. I want you, not the contract, not the story, you. Ella's eyes flood. Jessie. He swallows hard, then drops to one knee, like he has been holding this decision back for months. Ella Carter. He says. Will you marry me for real? Not for safety. Not for pretending. For love. Ella laughs and cries at once. The ring in her pocket feels like a secret joke. She pulls it out with shaking fingers. Only if you take this too. Jessie blinks, stunned. Then his face softens, and he laughs, quiet and disbelieving. You bought me a ring. I am an art teacher. Ella says through tears. I make impulsive purchases. Jessie stands, slides her ring on her finger, then lets her slide his on his. Then he pulls her into his arms, and for the first time, the kiss is not pretending. It is home. Ella wakes up the next morning and finds Jessie sitting on the edge of her bed, looking confused by happiness. She squints. Why are you staring? Jessie clears his throat. I was checking if you were real. Ella laughs and pulls him closer. I am real. He exhales, relief soft, and kisses her forehead like he is still learning he can. They do not stop bickering. Ella still leaves socks on the floor. Jessie still folds them. Now he does it while smiling. Jessie still reorganizes her paintbrushes. Ella still complains. Now she complains while leaning into his shoulder. Noah visits, points at them, and declares. I told you, contract marriages always combust. Ella throws a pillow at him. Jessie does not even pretend to be annoyed. They plan a small wedding with no ballroom, no sponsor speeches, no forced smiles. Ella picks flowers. Jessie chooses the venue with a spreadsheet that makes the officiant nervous. Are you scheduling my emotions? Ella asks. I am preventing disasters. Jessie replies. I am the disaster. Ella says. You are the charming disaster. He corrects. When Ella's parents come again, Margaret does not storm in. She hesitates at the door like she is afraid the apartment will reject her. I was wrong. Margaret says stiffly at the table. I thought I was protecting you. I was controlling you. Richard adds quietly. We did not listen. Ella's throat tightens. Jessie's hand finds her knee under the table, steady. Margaret's eyes shine. You look happy here. If Jessie makes you happy, then I accept it. Ella squeezes her mother's hand and finally breathes. The wedding day is simple. Friends. A little music. Noah wiping his eyes like he has allergies. When Jessie says his vows, his voice is calm, but his hands shake. Ella. He says. You taught me that love is not a schedule. It is a choice. I choose you. Ella laughs, cries, and answers. I choose you too, even when you label the salt. People clap. Noah yells. Kiss her. Like the world will end if he waits. Later, Jessie takes Ella back to the park bench where it all started. Ella pats the wood. This bench deserves royalties. Jessie smiles, then drops to one knee again, holding a simple ring that catches the sun. The first time I met you, you were running. He says. You were scared. You were brave anyway. You changed my life. You made my home loud. You made it worth coming back to. Ella's eyes sting. Even when I almost burned your kitchen. Especially then. Jessie says, voice soft. He holds up the ring. Will you keep choosing me, every day? Not because you need shelter, because you want me. Ella pulls him up by his shirt and kisses him, laughing into the sunlight. Yes, she says. Yes, yes, yes. Jessie slides the ring onto her finger. Ella leans into him on the bench, warm and safe, and whispers. So, can I cook now? Jessie's eyes widen in horror. No. Ella laughs, and the city hums around them like a blessing. After the wedding, they take a tiny weekend trip upstate. No luxury resort. Just a small cabin with a creaky porch, and a kitchen Jessie inspects like it might explode. Ella waves at the old stove. I can cook now. Jessie points at the smoke detector. I brought backups. Ella laughs so hard she nearly falls off the porch steps. They hike, get lost, argue about directions, and end up sharing a sandwich on a rock while Jessie mutters. We should have printed the map. Ella bumps his shoulder. You are married to a human map now. You are not a map. Jessie says. I am a vibe. Ella replies. Jessie kisses her temple. You are my vibe. Back in the city, they buy a houseplant. Ella names it Freedom. Jessie labels the pot. Water on Tuesday. Ella rolls her eyes, then waters it on Tuesday anyway. They started as an escape. They became a choice. And every day after, they keep choosing it. Together.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.